Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City Commission meeting for the 14th day of October 2024 at 6 p.m. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Dollison?
Here.
Commissioner Mercer? Here. Commissioner Dantzler?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yates?
Here.
And Mayor Birdsong.
Here. We will have the invocation by Father Andy Dorn from the Solid Rock Church, and we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Vanessa Castillo, City Clerk. Please stand if able.
Let us pray. We take our first moments of silence to remember those who have perished in the recent storms in this country. We ask you, Father, to have mercy upon them. Receive them into the kingdom of light and life through the work of your Son, Jesus. We thank you, Father, for our own safety, those who are present, our loved ones who are still with us, kept safe through these storms. We do pray for the recovery of those who are in need. We ask for that we would find those that are still missing. We ask, Father, for the end of armed conflict where it is found anywhere on the face of the globe. Save us in a time of trouble and war. We lift you our own armed forces for their own safety, for their own wisdom and discernment in any situation they may encounter. Bring them all back home safely. We thank you also, Lord God of all creation, for the freedom that we have to gather here tonight, to ask for your presence, to be asked for your wisdom and knowledge and truth, to be manifest here in every discussion and every decision that is made for the betterment of life in this community. And in light, again, of the trials through the storms, other trials that we have been through as a community, that we would be drawn together as a community to see how we can help one another, lift each other up, forgive each other, do what we can to strengthen one another. May your presence be known here in this community of Winter Haven. May your presence be known here in this meeting this night. Ask a special blessing on every member of the City Commission of Winter Haven to hear from you as you speak, to discern your words from anything that would seek to take their discussion, their decisions away from your guidance, Lord God. And again, we thank you. Thank you for your presence with us. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your providence for us when we come to the end of our lives. And may we pass on all that we can that is good and godly and holy to those who come after us. So bless us that we would be a means, every one of us, a means of you blessing others through us. For we ask and pray this all in the most blessed and precious name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, Commissioner.
Evening, Mayor and Commissioners, members of the audience. We have 6 presentations that we will give this evening in proclamations in other form. Deputy City Manager Carnevale is going to assist me this evening. So he will start off with our first one, which is for Red Ribbon Week proclamation. If Wally Gallart is with us, Unit Commander for the Mid-Florida Eagles Young Marines, you want to come to the podium? Thank you.
Whereas the City of Winter Haven, Florida is committed to a healthy lifestyle of its citizens and desires to ensure their quality of life. And whereas communities across Polk County have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and trafficking. And whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs and that hope lies in education and drug reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Mid-Florida Eagles of the Young Marines and the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities. And whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. And whereas October 23rd through October 31st has been designated Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Now therefore, Nathaniel J. Birdsong, Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim October 23rd through 31st, 2024 as Red Ribbon Week. In witness whereof, he is hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the City of Winter Haven, Florida to be affixed this 14th day of October, 2024. Signed, Nathaniel J. Birdsong, Jr., Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo.
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you, Mayor and the City Commission. I know you have a very busy schedule, and there's so many things that you do for all of us, all the citizens of Winter Haven. Polk County, as you know, has been plagued with a lot of drugs. It's easy for a young person to find them, either at home, in some homes, at school, and, you know, any unscrupulous person that can offer that to them. The Young Marine Program is nationwide, and it's not just about the Red Ribbon Week. We do this quarterly. We do drug awareness training, and just as Miss Reagan used to say no to drugs. That's the emphasis. However, we just don't say no to drugs. We give our youth tools in which to be able to say no to drugs, and that means physical training, leadership, and also community service. So with that said, thank you again. I want to thank the parents, because without the parents, this program would never exist. They're the ones that take, of course, the kids over to our meetings, which just happens to be about 2 miles from here at Post 8 of the American Legion. So, and without support from the community, our Marine Corps League that's always present with us, we wouldn't be nothing. So thank you very much.
We'll come forward for
Thank you. They're a little bashful.
All right. Right here on the count of 3, we're going to take 2. 1, 2, 3. One more. Perfect. Thank you.
Mayor and Commissioners, our next proclamation for this evening is for Dr. Jesse Davis Owens Day. Dr. J. Owens would come forward. Our proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Dr. Jesse Davis Owens is a Winter Haven, Florence Villa native. She was born on October 3rd, 1945, and has one sister, Mrs. Betty Davis Conway. She graduated from Jewett High School in 1963 and is married to Reverend Alvin L. Owens. And whereas Dr. Owens has been a music educator in the Winter Haven area for more than 50 years, she retired as a choral director from Polk County Public Schools after 42 years and has served as an adjunct professor of music at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, better known as FAMU, and Polk State College. And whereas Dr. Owens holds a doctorate degree, also is the founder and artistic director of the Sankofa Chorale, a musical group that performs various genres of music in support of African American culture. And whereas Dr. Owens founded the Dr. Jesse Owens Academy of Fine Arts in October 2012. The Academy is located at 1708 2nd Street Northeast in Winter Haven. It offers musical education to low-income students in the public school system, primarily to students who aren't able to get this type of education in their own schools, extending music education to those in the community who cannot afford a traditional music education. Her motto is transforming lives through arts. And whereas Dr. Jesse Owens will be inducted into the Polk Arts and Culture Alliance Hall of Fame during a ceremony on October 15th, 2024 at Normale Hall in Winter Haven. Now therefore, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim October 15th, 2024 as Dr. Jesse Davis Owens Day in the City of Winter Haven and urges all citizens to join in the recognition and to recognize and help celebrate this important milestone for Dr. Owens. In witness whereof he is hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the City of Winter Haven, Florida to be affixed this 14th day of October 2024. Signed, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo.
Good evening. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be here to accept this award and to be recognized for a passion that I dearly perform every day. And most of the time when you're having meetings, I'm still teaching lessons because it's an after-school program. I teach students in the afternoons, and once a week we have the community choir, and we're permitted to rehearse at Jewett Middle Academy. And in these activities, we have formed families that are supporting the community with music from the students and what they're learning from me. I retired in 2012. I had a wall of bookcase full of theory papers. I said, I can't throw all this knowledge away, so I brought it home. And I began to teach lessons in my parents' home, which is there because they left it to us as children. And so it's called the J. Owens Academy of Fine Arts, and we teach lessons weekly and daily. And we perform from Christmas programs, Black History Month programs, and just general music because we love it. And I am so grateful and thankful for Ms. Pat for recognizing the work that I was doing. I didn't think anybody was looking, but thank you, Ms. Pat. And so much to you community leaders, thank you.
All right, right here on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. One more. Perfect, thank you.
All right, next up we have Safe Sleep Awareness Month. All right. Whereas sudden unexpected infant death, SUID, is heartbreaking and can happen in any family regardless of income, education, or community. And whereas SUID is one of the leading causes of death in infants 0 to 364 days and is often associated with preventable, unsafe infant sleep practices and environments. And whereas research shows that a child's brain grows rapidly during safe sleep. And whereas babies should always be put to sleep on their back, alone in their own crib or bassinet, with no bumpers, pillows, quilts, comforters, or other soft surfaces in the crib. And whereas moms and dads should not share beds with their babies, and anyone under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or smoking should not be resting with the baby. And whereas local and national agencies such as Children's Home Society, Florida Department of Health in Polk County, Healthy Start Coalition, Winter Haven's Women's Hospital, Safe Kids Suncoast Coalition, and their partnering agencies educate Polk County residents on safe sleep practices. And whereas the City of Winter Haven recognizes the infant unsafe sleeping is a public health issue in Winter Haven and across the county. And together we can help by ensuring any person caring for a baby is using safe sleep practices. Now therefore, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim the month of October 2024 as Safe Sleep Awareness Month in the City of Winter Haven, and extends their continued support for the efforts of local agencies to promote safe sleep practices in Polk County. In witness whereof, he is hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, to be affixed this 14th day of October 2024. Signed, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo.
First of all, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this evening, and thank you, the City of Winter Haven, the commissioners, and the mayor, for just acknowledging that October is Safe Sleep Awareness Month. Safe sleep deaths are actually 100% preventable, and that's what we really want to try to educate our community on, our parents, our caregivers, aunts, uncles, babysitters, even big brothers, big sisters, whoever is watching a newborn baby or an infant needs to just make sure that the baby is in a safe place to sleep. And the easiest way to remember that is the ABCs. So A is for alone, B is for back, and C is for crib. And that is for all sleeps all the time. So whether it's a nap or nighttime or morning, whenever baby is sleeping, baby should sleep by herself, himself alone, and in a crib with nothing around them. So no snuggies, or no blankets or bumper guards. So that's really important just to share, if that's the one thing that you can get from tonight, and just remember is the ABC of safe sleep. So Healthy Start thanks you, and I thank you on behalf of Healthy Start and all of our babies in our community.
All right. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. Are we gonna start first? Yep. You here? Okay. We're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next proclamation is for Greenways and Trails Month and Mobility Week. I'm going to ask Katie White, our Parks and Recreation and Culture Project Lead, to come forward. Proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Greenways and Trails provide Florida and Winter Haven residents and visitors of all ages and abilities with year-round access to a wide variety of free health and fitness opportunities, and encourage use of alternative, energy-saving forms of transportation. And whereas Winter Haven provides over 14 miles of trails and connections in and around our city. And whereas community-based partnerships are essential to the success of Winter Haven's and Florida's trail systems, and many public and private organizations are actively involved with projects that are connecting Florida's communities with greenways and trails. And whereas Winter Haven supports additional local and regional expansions of our multimodal transportation system, which bring benefits in the form of economic, health, alternative transportation, and connection to our communities. And whereas along with the Florida Department of Transportation, Winter Haven will also be celebrating Florida Mobility Week October 25, 2024 through November 2nd, 2024. And whereas celebrating Greenways and Trails Month and Mobility Week are just a few examples of why Winter Haven and Florida are such great places to live, work, and play. Now therefore, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby recognize October 2024 as Florida Greenways and Trails Month and Mobility Week. in the city of Winter Haven and encourages all citizens to learn about our transportation options and enjoy our local, county, and state greenways and trails. In witness whereof, he is here and to set his hand and cause the seal of the city of Winter Haven, Florida, to be affixed this 14th day of October, 2024. Signed, Nathaniel J. Birdsong, Jr., Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'd like to take this opportunity to express our team's gratitude to the Commission for this proclamation and for recognizing Greenways and Trails Month and Mobility Week. Over the past 20-plus years, the City of Winter Haven has worked to develop an interconnected system of trails with over 14 miles constructed and several other miles being added to the network through current projects, including the Lake Elbert Trail Project and other projects that are in the pipeline. Because of these efforts, the city was named a trail town and still remains the only trail town in Polk County. I actually worked on this designation with Andy Palmer when I was still at the Office of Greenways and Trails, and I'm very happy to now be actively working to expand this network as a City of Winter Haven team member. I'd like to commend all the staff that helped clear all of the parks and trails after Hurricane Milton so that folks were able to get out and use them the next day with some of the folks I saw. I'd also like to mention, very exciting, we found out last week that we were awarded $200,000 for the Trail Go grant through the Office of Greenways and Trails. So that money will go towards cleaning up the north end of the Chain of Lakes Trail. And we'd just like to thank you again for this recognition, and we look forward to continuing trail progress and access for all in Winter Haven.
All right, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. One more. Perfect.
All right, our next proclamation is Community Planning Month, and our Director of Economic Opportunity and Community Investment, Eric Labby, will receive it. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas the American Planning Association and its professional institute, the American Institute of Certified Planners, endorse National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions sound planning and plan implementation make to the quality of our settlements and environment. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of Planning Commission and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Winter Haven. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by the professional planners of the city of Winter Haven and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now therefore, Nathaniel J. Birdsong, Jr., Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, is hereby recognized October 2024 as Community Planning Month in the City of Winter Haven and in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month. In witness whereof, he is hereunto set his hand and cause the seal of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, to be affixed this 14th day of October 2024. Signed, Nathaniel J. Birdsong, Jr., Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. I'll be brief. You get to hear from me every other week. But I want to take this time to publicly thank our staff in our department who are involved in planning and growth management in our community. It's a daunting task. I would say we've gone through 10 years of unprecedented growth that we've experienced in Winter Haven, and often they are not necessarily appreciated for the work that they put in that effort. We have to comply with federal, state, and local law in everything that we do, and we're very diligent in that to bring land use amendments and zoning changes and comp plan amendments to you that only fit the letter of the law. I'd like to recognize Cedric Cox, our Assistant Director, Sean Byers, our Planning Manager, who has well over 25 years of professional experience here with the City of Winter Haven, Heather Reuter, Senior Planner, Chris Young, Senior Planner, Angie Hibbard, our CRA Manager, Samis Lee, who's our CRA coordinator, who I don't think is here tonight, and of course, our engineering, building, and affordable housing staff who are involved in all the growth management, our planning commissioners who show up every month to deliberate and hear these items before they come to you on your agendas and make recommendations, and of course, the community who's always involved in our planning efforts in a wide variety of ways, not just showing up at your meetings every 2 weeks. And just want to thank them. And if you guys would like to come up for a picture, any staff or planning commission members who are here.
All right, count of three. 1, 2, 3. One more.
I thought it was National Planning Day like every 2 weeks when we get together. Our last proclamation this evening is in recognition of Florida City Government Week, and Katrina Hill, our Director of Public Affairs and Communication, will receive this on our behalf. Our proclamation reads as follows. Whereas city government is the government closest to most citizens and the one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents. And whereas municipal government provides services and programs that enhance the quality of life for residents, making their city their home, and whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to and understanding of its many responsibilities. And whereas city government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along the understanding of public services and their benefits. And whereas Florida City Government Week offers an important opportunity for elected officials and city staff to spread the word to all citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence this branch of government. And whereas the Florida League of Cities and its member cities have joined together to teach citizens about municipal government through a variety of activities. Now therefore, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim October 21st through the 27th of 2024 as Florida City Government Week in the City of Winter Haven, and encourages all citizens, city government officials, and employees to participate in events that recognize and celebrate Florida City Government Week. The City of Winter Haven encourages educational partnerships between city government and schools, as well as civic groups and other organizations. The City of Winter Haven also supports and encourages all Florida city governments to actively promote and sponsor Florida City Government Week. In witness whereof, he is here and to set his hand and cause the seal of the City of Winter Haven, Florida to be affixed this 14th day of October 2024. Signed, Nathaniel J. Birdsong Jr., Mayor, and Test Vanessa Castillo.
Thank you. We are looking forward to celebrating City Government Week next week. Leading up to it and through the end of this week, we're accepting submissions to a photo contest called Capture Winter Haven. As of about 3 o'clock today, we had 135 photos submitted to that contest. So we're excited to showcase those during City Government Week on our social media. We're also hosting a Touch a Truck event on October 26th. We're excited. We've moved that event out to the airport so we can include helicopters and airplanes and seaplanes in that, as well as all of our public works and water and public safety, parks and rec robotic things, all kinds of cool stuff. IT in the library will be set up at various places inside the airport to show technology and do story times. Our very own police chief will be emceeing and DJing the event. We will have a dunk tank with various city officials in it and commissioners. I'm going to be seeing if any of you want to get in it. And we've got 2 local high schools sending kids out to help volunteer and park cars and things like that at that event. So we're super excited and hope everyone can join us from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on October 26th and get a close-up look at what we do.
Mayor and Commissioners, as you're making your way back to the dais, one item that we would like to provide some insights on this evening that is not part of the agenda but is appropriate in the sense of sharing information. As we're all aware, we just went through a pretty significant weather event a week ago. And that being the case, I'm going to call upon members of my team to provide some insights. I'm going to start with Charlie Bird, our Assistant City Manager over Public Safety, to give you some insights into the kind of impacts that we felt in Winter Haven on Wednesday of last week, as well as how we responded during that event with respect to public safety. This is always kind of fascinating to understand that even when the city is basically shut down in the face of a natural disaster, the city is never truly shut down. So, Assistant Manager Bird.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, so Public Safety with PD, they combined all of our shifts, our 4 squads, to 2. So there are 2 12-hour shifts so that they could respond. Fire moved their 24-hour shifts to 2. And what that did was give us more increased personnel to be able to respond to calls for service as needed. The police resources were deployed throughout the city at every one of our fire stations. We had police personnel there with the fire folks so that we would have resources throughout the city as needed through the duration of the storm. The EOC was opened and manned from Wednesday and Thursday and Friday for 24 hours a day. That we had constant communications with the Polk County EOC. We have a representative that sits in that seat as well. So we had very good communications with them. Once the conditions became too dangerous for employees to be out on the streets, we implemented the low profile. You've heard us talk about that before, the low profile response teams where they come into the stations and a paramedic is placed with a police officer so that we can respond to calls for service. At some point, the fire engines are not good for responding because of the wind speeds, and this kept us to be able to keep responding for calls for service. Interestingly, this particular storm, we had no responses from those low-profile teams. So that can be looked at several ways, but I like to look at it from the positive way, which I'll get into a little bit in just a second. On the police side, I just want to hit a couple of highlights. They had a total of 200 for the 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday. They had a total of 263 calls for service. Most of those, and I'm going to kind of give you what the main ones were. For most part, people were behaving. There were a few domestic calls, the disturbances that we had to deal with. There were 59. The most calls for service were 59 perimeter checks. That could have been through alarm calls that were false alarms with the power going on and off, the winds, but they had 59 perimeter checks. In second place there was well-being checks. That was where people would call from out of state afterwards and ask if we could go by and check on their loved one to make sure that they were okay. It could have been from other departments as well that had loved ones in our area so that we would go out and check, make sure they were okay, and then report back to those family members. And then alarm calls, of course, came in. That was in third place of the total number of calls. With regard to fire, very similar to that, but theirs were a little different. 155 calls for service total. Of those, the most was 62, which were for EMS and rescue type calls. So medical is what we were predominantly responding to for fire. There was one report of a fire. We got there, it was a false alarm. So we did not fight a fire in the middle of a hurricane like we did the last time. Good intent calls was the second place total number. And those are, again, where those stations, we get dispatched to something. It could be EMS, it could be an alarm. The crews load up in their engine, they go out, they're on the way, and they get canceled for whatever reason. That would be what's called a good intent call. And then hazardous conditions, that could be power lines down, that could be propane gas leak, things like that. So those were the priorities that we responded to. After the storm passed, our team has hit the street, all of our firefighters and police officers and other team members, utilizing a Survey 123 reporting system. That's where they can go if they see a tree down on the road, a flooding issue, they can take pictures of it, send it back to the EOC, and we're able to monitor it real time and get the resources out there to kind of deal with that as quickly as possible. There were a total of 215 reports utilizing that. It probably was more than that, but there was a point in time that we did lose some communications with Verizon. I'm sure everybody else around the county experienced that as well. We did have some redundancy built in place, and we have radios, so that was what were utilized to help us mitigate that. The Safe Neighborhoods went out and began damage assessments immediately following the storm. They completed those assessments today. There were not as much damage as there have been in the past. They had two major, what would be considered a major incident, where trees fell into residences and actually breached the residence. Nobody was injured. There was one total collapse of a building, but it had previous fire damage. A tree didn't fall on it. It was just the storm finished caving in the back area where the fire damage took place. Just of note, after that two-day period over the weekend, we had two fires, had to do with people putting gas cans in their cars and filling up their gas cans and having fumes, and one ignited into an explosion at some point where there was a serious injury in that. The good news is, I think that Katrina's team putting out bulletins, educational bulletins with regard to generators. We had no reports of anybody being overtaken by carbon monoxide exposure by putting their generators in their house or back porch or garage area. That's a very good thing. And with that, we did have a few of our employees that had impacts at their house, and we're helping them deal with that. But I don't mean to rain on or steal any of the city manager's thunder, but if you didn't already know it, you have a fantastic team in the city of Winter Haven. Watching them work together, even after the storm as a whole, was absolutely incredible. And that's all I'll say in case he wants to say more. I don't want to take his thunder from him. If you have any questions, I stand for any questions you have.
Thank you, Charlie. Commissioners, I think Assistant City Manager hit on the head. What we saw happen with this storm, certainly we began preparing the Saturday before the storm ever hit. Mr. Byrd, Mr. Carnevale, and myself began that strategy on that Saturday, working Sunday that week as well with the county folks to spin up all of the necessary EOC operations and mitigation strategies. You have by far the finest team of employees you're going to find anywhere. They develop a plan, they work that plan to a T. When we met earlier in the hurricane season, leading into the hurricane season to review the plan, they identified any shortcomings within that. They immediately corrected those. And as soon as we were able to get our crews back in here, they began restoration efforts. At our peak, we had over 80 of our lift stations that were without power. Some of those are on generators, on a permanent generator situation, so they were okay to continue operating, but our staff began chasing every possible electrical issue that was out there, moving bypass pumps, moving portable generators. When we closed out Saturday evening, we were down to about 9. This morning, we were at 4, and by noon, we were at 0. So we were able to address all of those. The staff that came in, I can tell you I shared with you a few months back, one of my proudest moments was the adoption of our strategic plan. I think I've surpassed that on this one because when I walked through downtown and I saw in our city parks, police officers, firefighters, the police chief, the fire chief, and the assistant city manager of public safety, along with members of our finance team, our communications team, our parks department, countless other areas of the city working together to clean our parks and get those ready for the public to come back in, because that's what they're clamoring for. They want to get into those green spaces. Still have children out of school through tomorrow, and they're looking for those spaces to occupy, and we have made tremendous efforts in that regard. We began hauling debris immediately on Friday. I want to give a special thank you, and I would encourage you all to do the same. Mr. Chip Tucker with Tucker Paving was here at City Hall at 8 o'clock on Friday morning to let us know that he had, I think it was 13 dump trucks with drivers ready to roll at no cost to the city whatsoever. He just wanted to help his community. And we paired those up with our trash masters, and they began working the city from the downtown outward to begin loading debris, and we just hauled it straight to the landfill. The work that took place Friday and Saturday in particular to get our city back into one piece was nothing short of amazing. Your team, I just can't say enough about them. They are top-notch, and it's a pleasure to serve with them. I would ask that MJ give you just a quick brief update on our debris process. At this point, that's what we're in. I will share with you beforehand, though, in terms of facility damage, we had some damage at the airport. A number of airport hangar doors blown in. Those are all being addressed. We've had some major damage to Hangar 10 at the airport, which is going to require some restoration effort. We had some damage to the motor pool, the fleet maintenance bays out there with some roof damage. I think that's probably the worst cases that we experienced. We didn't lose any facilities. Everything is back online, and we are slowly getting back to full normalcy here in the city of Winter Haven. So with that, I'll ask MJ to give you an update on our debris management strategy going forward.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. Like City Manager said, we began debris collection immediately, working outwards from the city center. That was with city crews. We are a partner on the county's debris hauling contract. There are two parts to that contract. There's a company called Ashbrit, who are the actual debris haulers. They'll go out with the big claw trucks, pick up that material. And then there's a company called Tetra Tech that actually monitors that whole process so that it all is reimbursable from FEMA. We worked with the county on Sunday, I believe it was, Brittany, right? Yeah, Sunday, to establish a debris collection site at Motor Pool Road where we did after Hurricane Ian. So that is where Tetra Tech, that monitor, will set up and allow the haulers to come in, monitor it right there, dump it, and then get back on the road. That avoids them having to run all the way to Simmers Young or to the landfill. We're much farther away, which means we can be much more efficient in how we collect that debris locally. As for quantity of debris and timeline, we can say right now that pretty confidently that it's less than Hurricane Ian, but we're not sure what the timeline on that's going to look like just yet. There's a lot of small piles, but stopping to pick up a small pile sometimes takes almost the same amount of time as stopping to pick up a big pile. So as we get into that a little bit, we'll have a little bit better feel for how quickly we're moving through the city and how many haulers are in the area. But that is well underway, so residents should start seeing those crews move through. I will say, in that period, we have suspended normal debris, landscaping debris pickup, and junk pickup. So the full focus will be on just hurricane debris hauling. And Katrina's team has pushed out a whole lot of information on what that needs to look like. So no bag debris. If you have to separate out any white goods, refrigerators, furniture, that kind of stuff from any yard debris. So a lot of that information is going out. There's plenty of that available to the public if they're looking for insights. There's also a debris hotline. Want to say that nobody needs to call. We know the debris is out there. Every road will be touched. That debris hotline is really just if anybody has any specific questions, things they're looking for, questions about how small to chop something up, those kind of things. So. Yeah, so we will also map that debris out as we have in the past, and we'll be able to provide you guys updates on where that has occurred.
You're still going to go from the inside out.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yep.
That's the plan.
Yep, and the city crews will work inside and out, and then the debris haulers, we try to corral them, but they are not operating solely for the city. They're a partner with the county, so they have some priorities that they have to hit as well. I believe one of their big priorities is any like home debris, if there are any full home destructions, anything like that, that they work to clear first, but they're working outside city limits, so their pattern is a little bit different, but we will work inside out and then be supplemented by those crews.
And as sad it is to say, you know, we don't have the flooding that northwest Polk County has or southwest Polk County has. So getting those haulers into those areas is going to take a little bit of time is our understanding. So because we are a little higher and drier, hopefully we can get through that as quick as we can. I know that in a conference call with the county EOC, I believe it was on Saturday afternoon, as they began to mobilize those outside forces. I know countywide, their goal is to have everything up by Thanksgiving. That seems like a long time. There's a lot of debris out there in certain places. I think we'll be much sooner than that. We just ask for the general public to have some patience with us. We are running regular garbage routes. We started running regular garbage routes on Friday to get everything from last week's routine collections up with maybe a little bit delay in recycling. We are on schedule to continue with that this week and get everything up as quickly as we can.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Thank you. We have no developments of note. We have the August 21st Special City Commission Workshop minutes and the August 21st Agenda Review Session. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve the two sets of minutes from August 21st.
All right, thank you. I'll close the City Commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to these minutes may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the City Commission meeting. In a discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Comments from the audience. I have one person that signed up, and the agenda item is 13A, so I will call you up when we are reviewing that particular item. However, if someone arrived later and would like to address the commission, you may do so at this time. Thank you. Commissioners, we have no ordinances second reading. We have the consent agenda.
And Mr. Mayor, if the commission desires, you have two items on the consent agenda. I know we had to cancel our commission workshop last week. I'm happy to provide clarification or details on either of those. I will point out that with respect to the Urban Forestry Advisory Board appointments, those two individuals who are recommended for appointment, Mr. Joseph Hosepian for Citizen Seat 4 is with us. Joseph is also, I understand, a member of our City University current class, and the other appointment recommendation is for Zach Strang to appoint to Citizen Seat number 5. He is also with us this evening.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
motion to approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
thank you. I will now close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the consent agenda may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, open the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, the consent agenda is adopted. Resolution R 2439, would you read by title only, City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-24-39, a resolution vacating an unimproved right-of-way consisting of a 12.5-foot wide north-south platted right-of-way lying east of Lot 269 and is shown in the Juanita Farm subdivision as recorded in Plat Book 1-C, page 82A, Public Records of Polk County, Florida, lying in Section 21, Township 29 South, Range 26 East, Polk County, Florida, and west of Lot 270 as shown in the Juanita Farm subdivision as recorded in Plat Book 1-C, page 82A, Public Records of Polk County, Florida, lying in Section 21, Township 29 South, Range 26 East, Polk County, Florida, providing for administrative correction of skirt areas and providing an effective date. General location, the unimproved right-of-way is approximately 400 feet east of 12th Street East, Juanita, approximately 230 feet north of Ridgeview East, Juanita. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, Highland Cassie LLC is requesting the City Commission vacate, abandon, renounce, and disclaim the public's rights in and to an approximate 655-foot long, unnamed 12.5-foot wide unimproved north-south right-of-way. The right-of-way was dedicated as part of the Juanita Farm subdivision plat in 1914. The petitioner seeks vacation of the right-of-way to facilitate financing and future development of the parcel. There are no roadways or public or franchise utilities within this right-of-way. No objections to the vacation have been received from any city departments, Spectrum, Frontier, Central Florida Gas Company, or TECO. There's no direct financial impact to the city with this request, and staff is recommending the City Commission approve Resolution R 24-39. To give you a little clearer understanding of where this is going to be to the west of Wastewater Treatment Plant 3, somewhat adjacent to the Intermodal Logistics Park.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yes,
motion to approve Resolution R-24-39.
thank you. I will now close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to R 2439 may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, R 2439 is adopted. R 2440, would you read by title only, city attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-24-40, a resolution vacating an unimproved right-of-way consisting of a 12.5-foot wide east-west platted right-of-way lying south of Lot 206, as shown in the Juanita Farm subdivision as recorded in Plat Book 1-C, page 82A, Public Records of Polk County, Florida, lying in Section 21, Township 29 South, Range 26 East, Polk County, Florida, and north of Lot 212, as shown in the Juanita Farm subdivision as recorded in Plat Book 1-C, page 82A, Public Records of Polk County, Florida, lying in Section 21, Township 29 South, Range 26 East, Polk County, Florida, providing for administrative correction of scrivener's errors and providing an effective date. General location, the unimproved right-of-way is approximately 900 feet south of 4th Street East, Juanita, approximately 840 feet east of Avenue C East, Juanita. Thank you.
Thank you. City manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a very similar item. This is a 544-foot-long, unnamed 12.5-foot wide right-of-way. Same conditions exist with respect to it being unimproved, and there's no utilities within it. Staff is recommending the City Commission approve Resolution R 24-40 and authorizing the city manager or designee to take all necessary and related actions associated with the right-of-way vacation. Same concept, just a different right-of-way on the same piece of property.
All right, thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve Resolution R 2440.
Thank you. I will close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to R 2440 may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, R 2440 is adopted. R 2444, would you read by title only, city attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-24-44, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, confirming the appointment and reappointment of members to seats on the City of Winter Haven, Florida Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA Board, clarifying and confirming the membership on the CRA Board, making findings, repealing all conflicting resolutions, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, Commissioner Dawson had been serving as the CRA board member in Seat 1 prior to the time of his election. Seat 1 is reserved for a member of the public and is appointed by the governing board, in this case, the City Commission. Once elected, Commissioner Dawson transitioned to a CRA board seat designated for a city commissioner, which has left Seat 1 vacant. In January of this year, staff advertised to fill that vacancy. One application from a qualified applicant was received. Additionally, the current occupant of CRA board member seat 2, which is Dr. James Threlkel, has indicated in writing his desire to continue to serve on the CRA board for the current 4-year term. These appointments have no financial impact, and staff is recommending that the City Commission adopt Resolution R 24-44, which confirms and ratifies the reappointment of Dr. James Threlkel to seat number 2, Nunc-Per-Tunc, to September 30th, 2021, which term expires on September 30th of 2025, and makes and confirms the appointment of Maxie Hunter to seat number 1 for a term expiring on September 30th, 2027.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion to approve resolution R2444.
Thank you. I will now close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to R2444 may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposes by the same sign. Hearing none, Resolution R2444 is adopted. Resolution R2445, would you read by title only, City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-24-45, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, approving that First Amendment sublease and use agreement with Civil Air Patrol, a congressionally chartered private nonprofit corporation that serves as the official civilian auxiliary of the U.S. Air Force regarding the sublease and use of portions of certain city-owned property located at the Winter Haven Regional Airport, and authorizing the mayor and appropriate city officials to execute the First Amendment sublease and use agreement, and authorizing the city manager and/or his designee to take all other necessary actions regarding the First Amendment sublease and use agreement approved herein, providing for severability, conflicts, and for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, the Polk County Composite Squadron, SERFL 274 of the Civil Air Patrol, has been based at the Winter Haven Regional Airport since 2010 and continues to provide volunteer services to the City of Winter Haven and the Winter Haven Regional Airport as needed. On August 27, 2018, the Commission approved a sublease use agreement between the city and the Citizens Air Patrol for use of facilities located at the Police Department Training Center on the south end of the airport. The parties wish to enter into a First Amendment sublease use agreement to allow the Citizens Air Patrol to continue to use those portions of the training center for the purposes and in the manner as more specifically identified in the First Amendment sublease use agreement. There are minimal increased utility costs for water and electric utility service at the training center, main classroom building, and temporary portable building. Those are insignificant in total. This does align with our strategic plan of ensuring local government functions are aligned with community best safety practices, given that the Civil Air Patrol is tied to assisting us in aviation safety. Staff recommends the Commission approve Resolution R24-45 and authorize the mayor and all other appropriate city officials to execute the First Amended sublease use agreement with the Citizens Air Patrol, and further authorize city manager or designee to take all necessary actions related thereto. The map shows you where that's located. This is the Stokes-Patterson Training Center. It's on the very south end of the airport, south of the T hangars on the banks of Lake Idle and Lake Jesse.
All right. Thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Motion to approve resolution R2445.
Thank you. I will close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to R2445 may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, R2445 is adopted. R2448, would you read by title only, City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number R-24-48, a resolution of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, extending the state of local emergency declared in Resolution R-24-47 regarding Hurricane Milton, authorizing municipal officers to continue to take all necessary emergency measures, providing for conflict severability and an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, as we mentioned, Hurricane Milton and its aftermath continues to constitute a serious threat to the lives and property of residents of Winter Haven. The state of local emergency declared by Resolution R-2447 is ratified, renewed, and hereby extended for a period of 7 additional days, so that it will now expire on October 21st, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. unless further extended as necessary in 7-day increments. As you recall, state legislation prohibits us from issuing those declarations for longer than 7 days. We did this last week. It's my position that we need to continue that at present time as we work to implement necessary contracts and response efforts to help our citizens. And if approved by the Commission this evening, this will take us through up until next Monday. I would like to also get a consensus of availability that if we need to extend this again for an additional week, what availability the commission would have to convene a special meeting next Monday to do so. So if we could have a vote on it, it's your pleasure, and then if I could have some direction on availability for next week.
Commissioners, I'm available.
What time? 6 o'clock?
Whatever worked for the commission, we can do it during lunch hour if that's need be. It would just be for a single item.
I can do it on Tuesday at lunch, but if I can do it on Monday in the evening at regular time, but if we have to do it Monday, it has to be an evening because I'm
Okay.
busy today.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't be available past 4 o'clock, but I'm only one, so.
Let's do it
On what
Tuesday.
day?
Do it Tuesday.
Yeah, if you do it Tuesday, I'm open.
We can do it on Tuesday. Attorney's opined.
What time?
Second.
But I thought you needed to do it.
Whatever works for the
Before the
commission. We can
7
do it on
days.
Tuesday. We'll be covered through midnight on Monday. To do it on Tuesday, if you wanted to do that at lunchtime, we can make that work.
Y'all good?
Yep.
Okay, that'll work.
But we will need to get a motion and a vote on
Right.
this continuation
Right,
at this point.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
motion to approve R-24-48.
thank you. I will close the city commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to R 2448 may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Reopen the city commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, R 2448 is adopted.
And Mayor, what we'll do is, as we assess conditions this week, we'll go ahead and we'll plug that in for a noon meeting for the, as a special meeting for the city commission. If that is not needed, we will notify you.
Okay, all right. All right, we have some ordinances, second reading. We will not be voting tonight, but,
Sneeze.
oh, bless you. Startled me. We won't be voting tonight, but the second reading and vote will be on October the 28th, which is my mom's birthday. My late mom. Ordinance's first reading, O 2445, which read by title only, city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-24-45, an ordinance amending ordinance 23-25, the 2035 Winter Haven Comprehensive Plan, 2035 Future Land Use Map Series by revising the Future Land Use Map Series by assigning neighborhood support future land use to one annexed parcel, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. General location, 2400 Avenue E Southwest. The area covered by this request is 0.91 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
Thank you, city manager.
Mayor and Commissioners, Clausen Trust is requesting the city assign neighborhood support future land use and commercial highway C3 zoning district to an annexed parcel. The size of the parcel is .91 plus or minus acres. It contains a 13,716 square foot storage warehouse building and a 1,210 square foot office building that was built in 1972. This property was annexed into the city June 24th of this year. The proposed use of the developed property is that of a HVAC company. As this property is developed, no additional demands on public infrastructure are expected at this time. Should the property be redeveloped, a concurrency determination would be made at the time the property receives site plan approval and is redeveloped. Prior to annexation, the Polk County land use for the subject parcel was residential low 4, or RL4. The requested neighborhood support future land use is consistent with the developed use and the city designations to the south. The requested C3 zoning district is consistent with the neighborhood support future land use designation. All notice requirements have been met. There's no financial impact to the city. The Planning Commission at its September 3rd, 2024 regular meeting voted to recommend approval of these requests. No members of the public spoke. Staff's conclusion is as follows. Assignment of the neighborhood support future land use and C3 zoning district is consistent with the developed use and surrounding city designations. Given the relatively shallow depth of the parcel between Avenue E Southwest and the railroad tracks, the subject parcel is not well suited for residential use. and the property is already developed, thus no additional demands on public infrastructure are expected at this time. Staff recommends City Commission approve ordinance O-2445 and advance it for second reading.
Thank you. Commissioners, even though we won't be voting, if there are any questions,
Yeah.
raise them.
I have a question. So we're going from RL to C3 on this, and they're not, what's it being used for now, Eric?
I believe it's currently vacant, but the proposed use is an HVAC company. Its historic uses as a storage warehouse.
And everything around it looks like residential except that. All those houses to the left and,
It's residential to the north and the east. The ones that are immediately adjacent to the west are office and warehouse, additional office and warehouse.
to the left of the red line, is that what you mean? Those are
Yeah.
offices, those are not houses?
That's office and warehouse, yes, sir.
And
they're not
across the
houses.
street in that wooded lot, that's not residential?
That's across the street is residential, yes, sir, to the north.
And nobody out there complained about this?
Nobody spoke at Planning Commission, no, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else? I'll allow anyone from the public that would like to speak. Come, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sarah Case. I'm with Next Level Planning and Permitting, and I'm representing the Clausen Trust for this property. I wasn't going to say anything, but I thought, you had a couple concerns. As indicated by staff, this was annexed into the city at the end of June, and it's very much an anomaly because the building was built as a non-residential building in 1972. So when the comprehensive plan came through with the county in 91, they did not create an enclave for non-residential there. They just said future land use 2020 would be RL4. Well, the Clausen family has been using this facility for storage in an ancillary office. So that's why we came to the city, because we're adjacent surrounding the property. And working with staff, what would be an appropriate land use and then zoning, which you'll hear on the next first reading ordinance. But that was the conclusion that we came to. And my client is hoping to have his HVAC there, but currently it is a storage facility. There are items in there, in the building existing.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sarah, my issue is not necessarily what the Clausens are going to do. I know they're good people, and this is going to be a low-impact use. My problem is down the road. Once we give C3 zoning to this, and the Clausens sell this building or whatever, all of a sudden we put in a much higher use that could potentially affect the neighbors around there. That's where my problem is. It's not with what the current use is. It's down the road, because we can't take the zoning back once we do Z3.
And another item that we had to address was from the financial aspect, that a lender is not going to lend to a non-conforming use. And so in the county as RL4, it was non-conforming, even though historically it has always been used non-residentially. So we were kind of in a quandary, came to you guys, and then you accepted it. There are no plans for additional building or anything like that. And as the staff report indicated, if something like that does occur, we would have to redesign to today's standards under that.
There's no way to do a conditional use permit, Eric, or something like that, so they can still get their financing and?
No, sir, and just as a little context, it is a small parcel. Neighborhood support, future land use, which is what we're requesting to assign to it, is a future land use that is neighborhood sized in scale. So it doesn't allow for real intense development, intense development on the parcel. To the south, across the railroad tracks, is also neighborhood, or is also commercial future land use and commercial zoning that is within the city. And so if the property were to be redeveloped in the future, it would not be it wouldn't be a 7-Eleven, wouldn't be an intense use like that. It would be more of a neighborhood scale, non-residential use.
What protections do we have against that, though?
The comprehensive plan.
Huh?
The comprehensive plan.
Even with C3 zoning, the comp
yeah.
plan would take precedent?
No, the comp plan always takes precedent. C3 zoning allows for a variety of uses, non-residential uses, but the comp plan would ensure that would be neighborhood scale, commercial uses. It doesn't allow for real high floor area ratios, their neighborhood type scale. And so it could be, if the property is redeveloped in the future, they'd have to submit a site plan. They'd have to conform with current code. So they'd have to put in the adequate parking. As you can see, it's a small parcel, so they wouldn't be able to put a whole lot of parking spaces on there. They'd also have to put in stormwater retention. I don't know that there's any stormwater retention on the property today, as it was developed in 1972 before we had stormwater standards. And so those factors really limit what could go on there as a redevelopment piece.
Right, good.
All right, you good? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, as I said, we will have the second reading on October 28th. 02446 is the zoning. Would you read by title only, City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-24-46, an ordinance amending Chapter 21 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, by assigning commercial-highway C3 zoning district to an annexed parcel, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. General location, 2400 Avenue E, Southwest. The area covered by this request is 0.91 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, this is the companion ordinance that deals with the zoning.
All right, thank you. We will address this second reading on October 28th. 02447, would you read by title only, City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number O-24-47, an ordinance amending Chapter 21 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Winter Haven, Florida by amending Plan Unit Development Ordinance O-22-54, providing for the administrative correction of scrivener's errors, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. General location, 6945 Cypress Gardens Boulevard. The area covered by this request is 41.4 plus or minus acres. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager?
Mayor and Commissioners, Advent Health Polk North, Inc. requests the city amend PUD ordinance O-22-54. This pertains to 41.4 plus or minus acres. PD 2254 allows for the future development of a hospital building and medical facilities. As you know, the emergency department is already on this property. The proposed modifications to this PUD include increasing the number of monument signs, increasing the total building signage square feet for the hospital and emergency department, increasing the maximum building signage for each freestanding building, and allowing for a spire sign for the emergency department. And I believe, JJ, do we have a picture of what the spire sign is? So that is, when we say spire sign, that is what we're talking about, that pole that comes up the top. This is a trademark signage of Advent Health. As there are no proposed changes to the permitted uses and intensities, the maximum development potential is unchanged. Therefore, there's no increase in potential infrastructure demands beyond what is currently allowed. All public notification requirements for this have been met, and there is no direct financial impact to the city. The Planning Commission, at its September 3rd regular meeting, voted to recommend approval of this request. 2 members of the public spoke, expressing concerns about drainage issues in the River Lake area and light pollution. Staff's review of the petitioner's request yields the following conclusions. The increase of monument signs based on the total parcel frontage and permitted access points of Cypress Gardens Boulevard is appropriate. Due to the proposed size of the hospital and medical campus on a parcel with 2,100 feet of frontage, the increase in permitted building signage will improve wayfinding at the hospital and throughout the medical campus. And staff has included conditions related to the proposed spire sign to mitigate any impact from light to residential properties to the north. Staff recommends City Commission approve ordinance O-2447 in advancing it to second reading.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, have any questions? Anyone from the public would like to ask any question? All right. We'll have our second reading on October 28th. New business item P2401C. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will defer to the city manager on this. There's
All
no
right.
title to read here.
All right.
This is a public hearing, however.
And Mr. Mayor, I'm going to defer to Economic Opportunity Community Investment Director Eric Labby to present this, as this is a conditional use coming before you.
Guess I don't have anyone to defer to.
Stop here.
Tough for you.
Mayor, Commissioners, Harold R. Baxter and HRB Industrial Park LLC is the petitioner. They're requesting a conditional use approval for airport/aviation uses located within the Industrial Light I-1 zoning district. The subject property totals 4.24 plus or minus acres and is located at 4900 Dundee Road. It currently contains a 3,314 square foot office, 4,000 square foot warehouse, and a 5,100 square foot shell building. The petitioner proposes to add a heliport to the property for landings, takeoffs, and storage of a helicopter. This requires a conditional use approval according to our land development code. The proposed hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The petitioner states no additional employees will be needed with the addition of the heliport on the property, and it is an accessory use to the existing uses on the property. Additional impacts to public infrastructure are not expected. The surrounding uses are denoted in your fact sheet. The subject parcel is located on Dundee Road, which is a mixed-use corridor of industrial, commercial, and residential. Notable uses in close proximity to the subject property include vacant pasture land to the north, across Dundee Road, industrial and agricultural uses to the west, auto sales and vacant commercial property to the east, and a common area tracts containing wetlands and drainage for the Whispering Trail subdivision to the south across Highway 550. All public notification requirements were met. There is no direct financial impact to the city with this request. The Planning Commission did hear this on September 3rd and voted 3-2 to recommend approval of this request. 4 members of the public did speak in opposition to the request with concerns related to noise and safety. Staff's conclusions are that the added use of the heliport to this industrial site is expected to have minimal impacts to the public infrastructure, and the petitioner's request is consistent with the mixed-use character of Dundee Road corridor and the existing industrial designations on the property, and staff has provided proposed conditions to limit the impact to the residential uses in the vicinity of the property. Staff does recommend the City Commission approve this request, subject to the following conditions. The site shall be limited to the storage and flights of 1 helicopter. No other aviation uses shall be permitted. The proposed landing area for the helicopter shall be constructed of a hard surface material. Takeoffs and landings of the helicopter shall be limited to the hours from dawn to dusk. The petitioner shall be permitted through all federal, state, and local agencies for use of the property as a heliport. They do have to be permitted through FAA. And a site plan shall be submitted and approved for the addition of the heliport, and all required improvements shall be made prior to the occupancy and operation of the heliport. We'll stand for any questions you may have.
All right. I had one person that would like to speak on this. Would you come forward, Mr. O'Connor? State your name and address for the record, please. This is the public hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Sean O'Connor, 4900 Dundee Road, Winter Haven, Florida. Here on behalf of the applicant, yes, we are requesting approval for the conditional use to operate 1 helicopter out of the property. We use this for business use. It is not open for the public, and I'm here for any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Where is it exactly? I'm trying to, these maps sometimes I get confused.
This is going to be, so you see where Overlook Drive is, Commissioner Dantzler, where if you take that due north, you're going to hit Dundee Road where the new traffic signal is. And traveling east of this property, you'll hit Cypress Wood.
Right there.
So this is right where Highway 550 used to come together with Dundee Road.
Where's Cypress Wood?
Cypress Wood is going to be to the east,
Is that left or right?
to the right, sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner, the heliport is proposed right where the hand is on the screen right now.
That's, and you're going to make one trip a day, is that what you said? Or did you not
The
say
frequency
that?
would vary. I mean, it is for business meetings, but typically we would leave once, hit our meetings, come back.
So-
We haven't used it on a daily basis yet.
Are you the pilot, or?
No, sir.
Anyone else?
I have a couple of questions. So I fell prey to the misinformation on this one as well. A gentleman came up to me at lunch one day the other day, about a week ago, and said, "What is going on with this? I got an email saying that there's a flight school coming in, and just the whole 9 yards." And so I called up Mr. Labby, and he, kind of relayed the information that this gentleman shared, and that's just, misinformation just drives me nuts these days. But what type of helicopter, I mean, is this restricting what type of helicopter it could or could be? And, I mean, our aviation person isn't here tonight, so I don't know, the noise from one helicopter for another varies, I would imagine.
It doesn't restrict by helicopter type, and I would defer to the applicant on what type of helicopter they have. But no, it doesn't restrict that. And I would imagine, I don't think Troy Heidel's in the audience tonight, but they do have to get permitted through FAA, so that might be part of the FAA permitting as well.
And when we've got dawn to dusk on there, that's kind of a general term. Is there no way to better define?
We can, at the commission's desires, we can modify any of these conditions.
Is there a specific time that you guys are looking for as opposed to a dawn to dusk general?
That's a good question, Commissioner. Our business hours are standard to most businesses, which I think is the 8 to 5 as written. I believe the dusk may be more important. If we're coming back, we typically don't fly after dark, so our goal is to get in before sundown. The dawn, however, we don't leave quite that early.
And so, I mean, would an 8 to 5 time range be acceptable? Would that?
8 to 5, 8 to 7, seasonally. Give us a little travel time to get back in the evening.
And I don't know, I mean, I don't want to impose a restriction or ask for a restriction necessarily that can't be imposed, what are the punishment? Like, slap your hand because you're here at 7:30, and nobody's gonna monitor that, but I guess, what are your thoughts, Eric?
It would be an applicant, or it would be a community-driven code compliance case.
So they would then-
Somebody would file a complaint, and
They'd file a
they'd get a code
complaint.
violation.
Gotcha.
That's just the first, is this the first time we've done one of these?
Yes.
First time since I've been here.
First time in 23 years I've been here.
Yeah. I think there's one on and I assume, but just kind of south of here on not Country Club Road, but Overlook Drive, there's a chopper facility there, or at least there was for quite a while, but that's county, so I don't know if they needed.
It's in the county, I couldn't tell you, Commissioner Yates.
But there is a helicopter landing pad allowance down there on Overlook Drive.
And you're saying, Eric, nobody complained about this at the commission,
There were.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
There's
they
a
are.
couple out there.
Okay, sorry.
There were. It's denoted in your fact sheet. There, I took my glasses off. Yeah, 4 members of the public spoke.
Okay.
In support of, support?
Think-
No, I think you're against it.
Might have some additional questions, but I'd like to hear questions from the audience or comments.
No one else signed up?
Certainly.
Well, let me make the motion, and then we can have the dialogue start. Make a motion to approve public hearing P-24-01-C.
All right, I will now open the public hearing for additional public comments. Would you come to the podium, state your name and address for the record? You have 5 minutes.
Hello,
Cherise Gales, 4851 Highway 550. It's nice to see you again. Thanks for listening. Bless you. Last time I was here, we were talking about my property at 5150 Dundee Road, at the corner of the triangle there. Next to the triangle, you see my home. We agreed to cut off that road because it was a dangerous 45-degree angle turn in way, and we were doing construction. It's about 3.5 years ago. Since then, we have blocked off the road. There's a few dead-end signs, a no outlet sign at the end of the road. However, I am still calling the authorities, I'm so sorry, about crashes that still happens at the end of this road. There are still kids, hanging out, a lot of activity at a dead-end road, and we don't want any more traffic. That's what we were doing or talking about a few years back. Right now, with the helipad, we are worried, of course, I'm speaking on behalf of the 3 houses and the community, but specifically the 3 houses, the 3-home community down here, the noise. I was told that we were just now annexed to Winter Haven from Polk County. I was told that if we were in the city of Winter Haven, that we wouldn't have built a home there, but we're here. I don't want us to get, disregarded or thrown to the back. My son is autistic. I turned the swamp into the home so we can be away from the noise. The Dundee Road expansion has been lovely, aside from the stress these last 3.5 years. I've lost a ton of weight due to it and all the new easements I've learned about. The debris. I have dogs, we have cows right across the road, the anxiety, the trauma, for the animals. I work from home. What about the cable wires, the stability, how am I gonna keep my job? Y'all been there. I've been here 3.5 years. I'm happy to be here. I would like to stay. Please don't drive me out. I have nowhere to go. I just built my home. I'd like to stay. Other than that, we don't want the traffic and we don't want the noise. They can't guarantee the hours of their operations. We can hear a helicopter from miles away. I don't want to hear it outside the house. We're worried about, the hurricanes and the wind damage and whatnot, all the insurance for that. I don't want to have to get insurance for extensive wind damage due to a helicopter in a residential community. Still, I was made aware that 550 was an industrial road as well. I understand that. I don't want to down their dreams, but we're residents, y'all. We're living here at least 30 years. I know I have at least 30 left. So that's all I want to say. Thanks for listening.
All right. Is there anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Joan Morgan. I live at 2793 Whispering Trails Drive, and I promise not to filibuster this meeting. But the last time I was here, I expressed my concern over this proposal. I will preface by saying that I have been a resident since 1971, probably longer than a lot of you have been alive, I'm sure. But all joking aside, I've seen much good and much bad come into this town. This is definitely a no. I've been in my home since 2015, semi-quiet neighborhood combined with 302 homes, including surrounding neighborhoods. This is disturbing wildlife. It's disrupting pasture land. My home stands, and I don't have a map, but it's right there at the end where it squares straight faces the helicopter strip where it flies right over my house. Excuse me. I have seen them. I thought one day he was going to land in the backyard. That's how close he was to fly such at a low altitude. I'm not trying to make a joke out of this, but we don't need a set of MASH coming over our homes. Granted, Polk County Sheriff has flyovers on occasion, but never that close. The foundation to my house has been shaken. The walls, windows are vibrating. I have a retired canine dog that she even whimpers because it's too close for comfort. We have gas appliances. Most of my neighbors have gas appliances and electric that, in the theory of Newton's law, what comes up goes down. And unfortunately, I don't want to see that happen. But the noise level, like this other lady was talking about, property decreasing, insurance increasing, construction ongoing. And not that it's my business, but what cargo are they transporting and why do they have to have dawn to dusk? Because that's an open, debate, dawn to dusk. I'm a teacher, and sometimes I get up at dawn or dusk or whatever, and it's like, really? Give me a time, okay? And like I said, in all due respect, I'll close, but I just wanted to give you my opinion and voice my opinion. And thank you very much.
Is there anyone else?
My name is William French. I live at 2797 Whispering Trails Drive. I spoke at the last meeting. So at the last meeting, it was stated that he was going to have flight school. I heard it with my own ears. So you're going to have a flight school flying over a residential area. And it was also stated that they have another heliport pad on Overlook Drive. Why do we need a second one? A mile away. The noise is horrible. I'm telling you, none of you guys are going to want a helicopter landing over top of your house. I don't either. Please reconsider. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
Eric, is there a flight school or is there not a flight school?
This is not approve a flight school, and I'll defer to the applicant, but I believe what they were saying was that their pilot is part of a flight school, but I don't believe they're not going to operate a flight school. And if we want to add a condition that this is for personal use and no commercial flight school shall be located on this property, we can do so.
Thank you.
Can you please read your notes from the last meeting? It stated in it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelly Smith, and I live at 2853 Whispering Trails Drive. I live on the opposite end corner of where this proposed helipad is going to be. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a clinical nurse underwriter, and I work from home. And they have already had, we've already had numerous takeoffs and landings, and it's quite loud. It's very, very loud, and it's you know, for those of us who work from home, it's almost impossible to get your work done. It's just very, I mean, I'm sure you can imagine what it actually sounds like when you have a helicopter landing right beside your house. I just wish that, well, I've been here for 8 years, and I love my neighborhood, and I love Winter Haven, and I really would like to keep our peace and quiet. Please, please do not vote for this. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Alvarez Padgett. I live at 2801 Whispering Trails Drive. I think it's important to note that our concerns and complaints are not speculation, but something we have already endured during the few weeks that the helicopter was flown without approval. The noise of the helicopter taking off and landing multiple times a day is very disruptive to the communities around the property. This disruption is not only for myself and my wife, who both work from home, but also our neighbors with infants, toddlers, and young ones at home. The multitude of retirees in the communities, and the people who work nights and sleep during the day. We're not just worried about the day-to-day noise disturbances, but also the safety factor of having a helicopter flying so close to our homes. HRB had mentioned, like they had stated, that it would be used for a flight training school. This obviously will increase the chance of a helicopter crashing into our homes. Safety, obviously a huge concern for having it so close to residential areas. Of course, the concerns don't stop with the obvious noise pollution and safety concerns we have to face, but we'll also have to face potential property values decreasing and home insurance premiums increasing. In addition, our homes that are near helipads and airports face increased costs of homeowners insurance. That should go up with safety concerns with air traffic frequently overhead. Last I heard, like they were saying, there was a helipad a mile down the road that could be used. So I don't think by not approving this that would impede business too much. There's also multiple airports nearby. I think approving this will greatly negatively affect the three neighborhoods nearby. But we also have a petition of 342 signatures of people that agree with us and don't want this near our homes. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Harold Baxter. I am the applicant. We've never had multiple
Would you
takeoffs.
state your address, please?
4900 Dundee Road. I understand their concerns, but the heliport down the street is a private heliport. That's what we're asking for. I don't think that you have any history of any complaints of it, and it's across the street from a subdivision and next to a church. There is restrictions that they can't fly during times of the services. For us, we will be doing no takeoffs going to the south or no landings coming from the south. We will take off and go to the north and over the pasture. Our landings will always come in from the north and land in the center of the property and then pull it in. We have a dolly that's electric dolly that pulls the helicopter inside. So a lot of this misconception about a school is just that. We've never anticipated. We're a development company. We're all over Central Florida. With the traffic today, the efficiency of the helicopter for us is paramount. And I understand their concerns, but I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion. But I thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else?
Marie Alvarez Paget, 2801 Whispering Trails Drive. Our concerns, our complaints are definitely not blown out of proportion. This thing was landing for weeks behind my home. You say across the street, but that's not a very wide street. It's a 2-lane little road. And it landed there for multiple times for weeks until we finally complained, and it stopped. We've already endured the noise, it's more than just an inconvenience. It really affects our daily life. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I'm Nancy Abrams, 3257 Whispering Trails Avenue. And I will say that, we live to the south, and there have been helicopters flying very low over my backyard. So saying that they're only taking off and coming back from the north isn't an accurate statement.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and reopen the commission meeting. I'm just wondering, in the stipulations, does it specifically state that there will be landing and taking off from a particular direction?
No, sir, it doesn't. FAA really is the governing body on flight pattern and which way they should take off and come in when they land, and they are required to go through FAA permitting. So we didn't want to be inconsistent with any conditions that FAA may impose upon them. In that regard, they really are the permitting jurisdiction with respect to flight pattern.
Okay, so the FAA permitting process is not contingent upon any requirements that we put?
So
Or it is?
We would be the governing body over the conditions that are proposed in our fact sheet. FAA may impose additional conditions upon their permit to operate a helipad, including their flight patterns. And perhaps the applicant knows a little bit more about that FAA permitting than I do. But if this were to be approved tonight, they would need to go get their FAA permit before they could legally operate a helipad.
I'm just thinking there are conditions that we have heard tonight that is not in what we are being considered, just being considered for. Like, the resident says that it takes off and lands wherever. The applicant says it will take off and land from, did he say the north? Over the past, well, there's a disagreement. I don't know, so could we put that stipulation in there?
We're willing to abide by that stipulation if approved. And if the FAA comes in with anything else, we'll be bound by the approval by this council. So if we did anything outside of that, we'd be coming before you.
I was just informed by our senior planner that Troy Heidel, our airport director, informed her that we cannot condition flight patterns in our local, that FAA is the governing body, and we cannot condition flight patterns in our local approval.
We could condition it, but they could overrule it.
Could overrule it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is a helicopter louder than an airplane or one of the seaplanes? Because where I live, the seaplanes come over and they fly right over, almost over our swimming pool. And I never hear them. I mean, unless I'm outside and look up and see them, I don't hear them.
Commissioner Mercer, I don't know that I could provide any expertise on that, but I will suggest that the primary difference you would experience between a fixed wing, aviation vehicle and a helicopter is going to be, a helicopter is stationary, so that noise is going to remain stationary, whereas a plane is traveling past you. That noise coming from rotation and engines is going to dissipate as it gets farther away from you.
Commissioner, I just wanted to point out, this is a quasi-judicial hearing, as you might imagine, and you have to make findings, and that's what this order that's before you in the motion that's on the table that you're considering will do, based on what you've heard and based on the information presented to you tonight. I believe I heard Mr. Labby say that there were, notwithstanding the conditions that are in the order that's here before you tonight, that is the subject of the motion that's currently being discussed, that you could put additional conditions on the use and operation of this heliport, proposed heliport. And I'm hearing two things that are potentially possible, and that is putting specific times that would accommodate, rather than saying dawn to dusk, possibly 8 a.m. to, I heard, either 5 or 7. I'm not sure, seasonally. That's one thing I heard. The other question that I'm hearing, or that I heard the applicant state, was that they would only take off and land from the north, not from the south, and that this is subject to FAA approval, and FAA is the agency, not surprisingly, that I presume governs flight patterns for aviation uses such as this. However, if the applicant who is here tonight and has testified and is willing to agree or commit to a condition such as, he said, takeoffs only and landings from the north and not from the south, we could condition it, I suppose, based on concurrence of or based on compliance with FAA. We don't want to overstep our bounds, but we could place a condition that's agreeable to the applicant, as he stated, if it is valid and if it's recommended or accepted by the FAA. I think you could word it in such a way so as not to overstep whatever local government bounds we may have, but it would address potentially the concerns, and it would, the applicants indicated they're agreeable to it. So those are two things that you could add to the conditions here that might help alleviate some of the things that you have heard.
If I may, we only take off from the heliport that we're now using as a favor from Mr. Adams, Thomas Adams, to the north, over, we go over, Indian River Indian River Transport is right there. And we have to come up and go over Indian River, we get across Dundee Road, and then we either go east or west. And that's what we're proposing to do here. It will be no different from me flying out of that heliport or to mine. There's a subdivision on the south side of theirs that is not even offset like it is with mine. It's directly across the street. Theirs is offset from mine. And back to the lady that lives on the corner, and I respect her and her child, but that home behind the building there of the commercial building, which is a mechanic shop, I also own that home. And there is no other homes on the back side of my property there. She has the new home, and it's a nice home. And I do agree with her about the people coming in at night and partying down on that corner on the old cul-de-sac. That does need to be addressed. But that's the way we do it today, and that's the way we'll continue to do it. And if the FAA said there's other ways to do it, I'm bound by what you put on the restrictions.
So if we put that restriction there and the FAA came back and said, for whatever reason, like, I don't know, I'm just, not that they would say this, but flights can only take off and land from the south and they must fly over the houses. Not that FAA would say that, but let's just say hypothetically they came back and said that. Could we then revoke our approval?
Well, I think that would be difficult to do, to revoke approval based on hypotheticals.
Well,
at this point, if
I'm willing to just
I
cancel.
think the applicant is willing to
If that happens.
you're willing to revoke
Absolutely.
agree to a
If
revocation of
the FAA
approval?
comes back and says I can only take off to the south
okay.
and land to the south, I will pull my request.
Okay, so we need to put that in.
Well, that needs to be reflected in
That would need
whatever's
to be
before
reflected
you.
in the document that we
Yeah.
will, additional condition.
Correct. So I've heard two things, I'm trying to provide guidance, not.
I'm gonna have to amend my motion,
Correct.
right?
That's
So
correct.
I've got my list going.
Okay.
The other question that I had was the landing pad. Is that, I just want to get this thing, if it moves forward, I want to get it as far away from the homes and as much buffer as we can. So could we not would it work to put the landing pad in the northwest corner of the property?
It would not work. You would have to pull it all the way around, and that machine is just a small dolly, if you will, ran by a bridge extraction engine. You know, it lifts it. What we had proposed to do was to build a concrete heliport with an H on it, and the H is basically just for your distances of your rotors. So in other words, if you land on the H, you know you're not going to hit anything, any buildings or anything around it. And, and again, to the east, that whole strip there, I own the only residence there to the next road, and then the lady that was here earlier owns that house down by the cul-de-sac.
What are we looking at on the?
So
This is the same drawing.
it's rotated.
Yeah, Dundee Road is going to be on the right-hand side there, and you can see the call-out boxes.
So where is the pad gonna be that would then facilitate,
Right with that area, right there.
Can we go back to the other map? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I forgot I was in control. There we go. Right here.
So that's that's a tight pocket to land in.
Not an issue. It's a small helicopter. And another condition we're willing to put is no turbine helicopters. It's an R-44, which is a small, single-engine helicopter. It's a 0540 that's in a single-engine plane. And all we use it for is business meetings and also going and looking at land. It's a big tool for us to look at land from the air for ingress and egress for design, also for wetlands, et cetera. So it's a great tool for us, and we're lucky to be able to have it.
And I just want to point out, this aerial is fairly dated. This pasture land that you see in the aerial is this area right here, which are additional industrial warehousing, which is under construction today.
That's all it's not homes, that's warehouses.
That's 54
commercial.
2,000 square foot warehouses. Yes, sir.
All right, let me try to amend this motion.
Okay, before you do, we addressed the dusk to dawn.
I got it.
Okay.
Take care of that.
All right. I entertain your motion.
Can I ask for a point of clarification if I can, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
And maybe this is from city attorney. I just want to, because based upon concerns that were shared this evening, the language that states the site shall be limited to the storage and flights of one helicopter and no other aviation uses shall be permitted. That would rule out the opportunity to allow for any flight school. That would be considered a other aviation use, would you agree?
Expressly would rule that out. There's no ambiguity about that whatsoever.
So that does not have to be in the amendment,
No.
is what
I
we're
mean,
saying.
It's already in your.
It says
it's already
no
in
other
there.
aviation uses shall be permitted, period. That's as broad as you can get.
In as much as this, you say this is the first time we've done this, are we establishing any precedents with regards to this?
No, this is a quasi judicial matter, and these are based on specific facts and circumstances on specific pieces of property.
Okay.
So it's not a legislative act.
So even when this was actually proposed, there was no issue with noise ordinance or any issues relative to that? If citizens are living in the area, were they even asked or some type of feedback from the citizens in the area, what impact it would perhaps have on them?
The planning commission
Did
has
that,
to do all that.
was that, did that happen?
That's through the means of the planning commission of posting the property and issuing the notices on that.
Was that required for planning to do that? If
Yes.
you
Yes.
bring,
Yeah.
so
A
that
conditional
did
use
happen.
approval is, that our code, just so we're clear on process, for conditional uses like this, and these are different because you don't generally have these coming to you all.
Sure.
But for conditional uses, our code requires that a public hearing be conducted in front of the planning commission. That the planning commission then has to give pretty robust notice. They have to give posting, they have to mail, and they have to advertise. So there's a number of different ways that those meetings, those public hearings are noticed. And it's a full hearing, like you have at planning commissions. And then they vote, and you have before you a recommendation of 3-2, so a majority of the planning commission. Then our code puts another public hearing requirement, which is what we're doing tonight, in front of you all as the final decision makers in this process. And to your point, Commissioner Dollison, this, in my view, would not create precedent in the sense that I think you're referring to it, because these types of matters are quasi-judicial. What does that mean? They're fact-specific, based on the specific property in question.
I see.
So you couldn't say, well, because we issued this on
You do
October
somewhere else.
24th, that means you're compelled to do it. No, that's not how that works. Each case has to stand on its own, merits, up or down.
So what requirements are there that were established, or did you all somehow come to some conclusion that this is conducive to this type of setup? I mean, how did you come to that? Just simply, just because a person makes a request?
No, sir. We look at the zoning, we look at surrounding uses, we also look at the conditions we can apply to a particular case to mitigate any off-site impacts that we can. This particular piece of property is zoned industrial. It has existing industrial uses on it and additional fairly large industrial uses that are under construction on the property right now. And with the added conditions to the order that you see in your fact sheet, staff believed that we had mitigated off-site impacts, and Planning Commission agreed to make a recommendation of approval.
So basically, you're looking at the table of land uses in our code and what's permitted by right and what's authorized. And this is one of those kind of uses in this particular zoning category that is permitted, but only on a conditional use. For example, as if you wanted to construct a building an industrial building presumably on this site, you would only need to go to the building department to get a permit and make sure that you've otherwise met, requirements. In this instance, to allow for this particular heliport, you have to get a conditional use as part of the approval process, which in this case, our code places 2 public hearing opportunities, just for that very reason, so that what Mr. Labby said, that the staff could suggest and articulate conditions to help mitigate the impacts of this particular use.
So the other heliport is not in the city proper?
It's in the county.
I don't know where the
I don't know
the other
anything
one
about
is.
Oh, it's in the county?
I just know because used to drive by it all the time.
Mayor Pro Tem, can you inform me where that one is? I'm not familiar. Is it?
So it's basically directly, as the helicopter flies, it'd be directly south of this property off of Overlook Drive, behind the church, the large church there, the newest church that was constructed at the corner. Kind of.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I have one clarification question from the applicant. You mentioned no turbine helicopter, but I don't want to get too into the weeds here. What specific kind of helicopter was it that you use?
We have an R-44 helicopter. They start at 22, 44, and 66. We have the mid-range. It's a 4-seat helicopter, passenger, pilot, and 3 passengers.
It's kind of like the ones that take off from iDrive over I-4.
It's exactly the same helicopter that
that's
they
what I
do
thought.
those little tours with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I thought. That's what I thought. Okay. Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
All right.
So I'd like to amend my original motion of approval of P-24-01-C to include takeoffs and landings. We remove dusk to dawn, and that's replaced with 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I split the difference there of 5 and 7. Takeoffs and landings shall only be to the north and return from the north. Applicant has agreed to withdraw the application if FAA requires a different flight plan, and limit the type of helicopter to be used as an R-44 helicopter. And my thought there is if he gets a different helicopter, then it just comes back before us to amend the conditional use approval. So that would be my amended motion.
Did someone get that down so that we can, has someone written those additional conditions down into the record?
Mayor Pro Tem, can you give me that last condition again, please?
Limit the use of helicopter type to an R-44 helicopter.
And if additional different helicopters are.
Applicant would need to come back before
back.
and request a change in use of
And
the
then-
conditional approval.
Would need to, seek an amendment.
Okay, so those conditions are takeoffs and landings would only occur between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. and only in a pattern to or from the north. The applicant agrees to withdraw the application if the FAA prescribes differently on flight pattern, and the helicopter is limited to an R-44 model, and any change to that would require an amendment before this commission.
That's what I heard. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Now, the applicants here, Mr. Baxter, are those agreeable to you?
Yes, sir.
The applicant has indicated that they're agreeable.
All right, we have an amended motion. I will now allow the public to comment, if you would like to comment on the amended motion.
My name is William French, 2797 West Spring Charles Drive, Winter Haven, Florida. Regardless of whether you have an amended motion or not, that doesn't negate the fact that we still have noise pollution in our neighborhood. I'm dumbfounded by the fact that he's sitting here telling you guys that he's willing to amend his motions or whatever. they have another heliport. We have an airport here in Winter Haven. If it's that important to fly that helicopter to go do his land surveys, why is he not using it, that heliport or the helicopter, or the airport? Why do we need to put another heliport behind our neighborhood? I just don't get it. I mean, it's not right.
All right, thank you.
Sharice Gales, 4851 Highway 550. If we look up the definition, or not so much definition, but a helicopter noise in the Google Residence, the kind of sound that it makes, it says it's a loud, rhythmic whooshing or whirring sound with a distinct chopping or pulsating quality. To hear that from dusk to dawn, or 8 to 5, 8 to 6, it doesn't matter, in the middle of the night, that's a disturbance that we don't want. The reason most of us didn't question when they were landing and taking off without permits, one, we didn't know, but two, we thought the military was doing something. We just saw the helicopters, we were like, oh, okay, that's a lot. And then we didn't even know about this motion until I received a petition at the door. We wouldn't even have been here, we would have known nothing. So just look at the noise complaint, if nothing else. And then the helipad, in thinking of how he explained it, how you doing? Of how he was gonna build it, how high? Again, that's our roof. I'm like, even if it's down low, that's the noise. Coming up is still noise, but that's the roof, that's damage. I'm still working on damage from a tiny hurricane a couple years ago with the water going sideways into the garage. Like, I don't wanna deal with that. That's a lot. I've been in Florida 9.5 years now. I love it. Not leaving, but I don't wanna leave here either. I don't like Orlando, don't wanna be anywhere else. I like Polk County, I like Winter Haven. I've been here. Retired from Polk County School Board, from here. Didn't last too long, but I did my due diligence. Please let me be in peace, y'all. Thank you.
Hello, I'm back. Joan Morgan, 2793 Whispering Trails Drive. Okay, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, negative Nelly, but you know what? Like I said earlier, what goes up comes down. Hello, Newton's Law. I Googled. The Robinson R-44 helicopter has been involved in a number of fatal accidents, and some say it has a history of safety issues. Boom drop. Mic drop, I should say, boom. It flies right over my house into the field, okay? Or into the area where they're building. And I know that photo is not accurate because, of course, it's been, trucks are coming in and out with all kinds of equipment. And this dawn to dusk thing, come on. You know, we live, like right now, the time is going to change in another few weeks. And it's going to be either darker earlier or whatever. I get it all mixed up all the time. But I agree with my neighbors and some other folks here that are kind of like protesting this. And I believe in capitalism. I believe in keeping America great, okay? But not this. Sorry, okay? Thank you. God bless you all, and thanks. Bye.
All right, anyone else? All right, commissioners, all those in favor of the amended motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes.
What was the? 3-2.
3-2. 3, 4, 1. But you, Brad?
3-2.
3-2. All right, moving right along. That's it. Commission liaison reports. Commissioner Dantzler.
Not a lot to report. Went to the downtown art exhibit. Amanda McAllister is taking that space right next to the old fire. And I know Amanda well, and quite a space she's got in there. And she's going to be there for a month, and then I'll have many other artists come in there. It's a pretty cool little space they've got going in there. So go in there and support Amanda and say hey to her. Also went to the Ritz grand opening, which we've already talked about. And one other thing I'm going to bring up, and I didn't bring it up now because of the hurricane, but I'm going to mention it now. And it has to do with this fluoride in the water. And I'm going to start, I've done a lot of research on this. I don't know if anybody else has gotten stuff been emailed to them, but there was a court case that came out, and the FDA or the I don't know who it is, but they're going to start looking at this again. And there's a lot of evidence that this could potentially really be dangerous. There's not a lot of evidence that it does much for your teeth. You have to put it, if you think about drinking a glass of water, that's the fluoride that touches your teeth and it goes in your gut and it doesn't really help your teeth. So it's got to, like toothpaste has got fluoride in it, you put it on your tooth and your teeth, and that's how you get fluoride in your teeth. But how, if we have it in our water, we drink a glass of water, there's not that much fluoride that hits your teeth. So there's a potential of this being really, really bad. We've heard from several people coming through here.
What's the benefit?
That's the thing, I'm not sure there is any. But we're one of 4 communities in Polk County that still do it. And I'm going to propose, or I'm going to suggest, and I've already put T on notice, that we maybe pause this for a year while the FDA or whoever does their study, because there was a big lawsuit that went south about fluoride. And I don't know why we wouldn't just pause it for at least a year to see, but there's only 4 towns in Polk County that still do it. And we've heard several people come to this dais and talk about how bad it is, and they've been sending me all this document because I'm a sympathetic ear. So I've gotten lots of stuff that I've read and I can share with you if you want to know it. But I'm going to pursue this. I'm working with T on this to try to find out what's involved to get it out of our water. I don't know if it's that much, but it is something I think we need, in the interest of public safety, we need to consider this, and we need to do our research and make sure this is something we want to do, because there's a lot of evidence, more and more mounting evidence that it's not good. So I'm going to keep bringing it up until we come to some sort of conclusion.
You'll make a lot of operators happy. They don't like putting it,
So I mean,
because it's another chemical.
So what is that process to end? I mean, I don't have one feeling one way or the other. What does that process look like?
Let me try and give some context to it, and I apologize, Gary Hubbard is not with us this evening. So we fluoridate our water. You have fluoride that naturally occurs within our water system. The effort that we do, so in our case, you have about 2 parts per million that naturally occurs within our water. We add about 5 parts per million of fluoride to the public water system. That brings it to a level of 7 parts per million, which is consistent with what the national survey data showed on prevention of tooth decay. Fluoridation of water became an issue in 1945 is when that started. The city of Winter Haven did this beginning in 1986. And it was our notes showed as a community decision. None of us were on the commission in 1986, or I certainly wasn't, while working here, wasn't aware of what was going on at that time. But
All right.
so what Commissioner Dance was speaking to is there was a case in Northern California that basically questions and challenges the benefit of fluoridation of water, and provides evidence that it may be more detrimental than beneficial. And so where that has led at this point is for EPA to weigh in on it and further assess rulemaking tied to fluoridation. We put it in, like I said, we do it via our water plants. The cost for us to do that within the system is probably less than $45,000 a year. The product that we're using, the volume that we're using. As he said, we are one of 4 communities within Polk County. Us, Lakeland, Lake Alfred, and Haines City do fluoridation. All of your other municipal utility providers do not.
The county doesn't?
The county does not, no, sir. So if it's, it's from a city manager standpoint, I'll look to you all to give direction on that. I can tell you that it is a process. I agree with Commissioner Mercer that it's one less thing to have to manage from plants. But if the commission is supportive of that, I believe this was enacted via resolution. I apologize, I don't have my notes on this in front of me this evening, but I believe that was the case when this was done in 1986. And so I believe, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, if there was an effort to reverse course on that, we would do that via resolution as well. If there's consensus from the commission for us to prepare such an item to come before the commission, we can certainly do that for your next city commission meeting.
Could I give a little history on that? Of course, we went through this in Clearwater, and I won't tell you the results of that, but in researching it and going back, it was in the 50s that they started introducing it. And as you know, everybody was pretty rural. They had wells and everything, so there was no fluoride. And those people in the poverty level, it was introduced to the water in order to get it to them. And they did studies, and they did all of that. It's empirical data that it did help with the reducing cavities and things. But now when you look around you now, and there's fluoride in the toothpaste, there's fluoride in mouthwash, there's fluoride rinses and things that you can get, as long as it's not a financial crisis, I guess, for some families to get that. It doesn't make as much sense to put it in the water as what it used to. So, but that was before, and I think it's in 1956 when Crest started adding it to the toothpaste and some of that. So,
I'd be in favor of bringing a resolution to terminate the use of fluoride.
So would I.
you got to have a public hearing usually on that, and sometimes some of the public is for it, some of it's against it.
Nobody's ever stood out in there and said, I want more fluoride in my water, I can tell you that. But like I said, I'm not making a motion, I'm just stating, I would be in favor of bringing the resolution before the commission.
Yeah, I grew up in a town that did have fluoride when I was a kid, and I don't know if it's, and I know a lot of that's genetics, also just dental hygiene itself, but I did not have a cavity until I was an adult. And I remember Dennis asking me, where did I live? And I told him, he said, the area you must have lived in had fluoride. And I guess because the studies had shown that it had benefit to the residents, I guess. And but as you have stated, that in as much as now you're putting fluoride, you're getting it direct versus more of an indirect, not to mention we're drinking more bottled water than anything else nowadays too. So I agree. I don't know if it's not needed, then why do it?
Yeah. And that should probably come out in some of the research.
Yeah, fluoride does nothing for you when you consume it. It has to be put on your teeth. And when you just drink a glass of water,
Well, it comes to the mouth first, so it goes through your mouth, through your teeth, usually if you're.
I'm just repeating some of the things I've
The
seen.
swallowing of
Back when
it,
they first started putting in toothpaste, they had.
Commissioners, we'll debate
Do not
this.
ingest this.
We'll debate this at a later date. Bring the resolution back.
Opinion, I can,
Yeah, we're going to let you have it, but not.
whatever.
So I think you have consensus.
I have my marching orders, thank you.
All right,
Down with fluoride.
that's it?
That's it.
Commissioner Dollison?
FLC had the opportunity to go to the committee meeting. It was just really insightful. My first opportunity, really enjoyed just the process and an opportunity to meet other officials from various parts of the state. And I've just enjoyed that, and that was just wonderful to be able to be a part of it. Tonight, is one of those nights, I guess, when you hear residents share passionately their concerns and their issues as it relates to their lifestyle and the way, what impacts their life. I think that being sensitive to that is important. And I won't say much to that, but this is the process working itself out. And this is the way it works. And so I appreciate that and respect that.
All right.
Okay, I did attend the Fire Lieutenant Jason Ward's retirement at Fire Station 1. And I'd like to say thank you to all of our employees for your dedication, your hard work, and going above and beyond. You guys are just fabulous. It's greatly appreciated, and I just don't want it to go unnoticed. So thank you very much, all of you. I know what it's like being there. I know what it's like in utilities. Anybody lose water services, wastewater services, great job, you guys. So, because I know you were there during the storm as well, so thank you. As well as police and fire. They were still on duty in that.
So, yeah, I'm just, I don't have a lot of liaison reports to give this evening, so I'm just going to give some thank yous, and I'm going to send an invite out. So first of all, thank you to the staff as well. You guys obviously put in tireless hours over the last week in keeping our city prepared and safe, and now in repair mode post the storm. So thank you to all of you. Katrina left, so I was going to give her a thank you to managing the social media aspect of it. It's just, this has touched my nerve the past week. It's the amount of misinformation that's out there is appalling. And it's aggravating. And I think Katrina does yeoman's job of trying to sort that out and correct where corrections are needed. I know myself, I was putting out a few things, just, if it's just blatant, I like to set the record straight. And I think Katrina does that very well as well. So thank you to her and her efforts and her staff in getting that out. And then the final thing is, we've seen the governor on TV a lot the last week. And, he has some harsh things at times to say of other municipalities, but not that he'll come and see us anytime soon, but I'd welcome a visit from the governor if he wants to see how a municipality does it right, because we've got the team here and we're doing it right. And with that said, that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. I had a couple of meetings. I attended the Transportation Disadvantage Committee of the Polk Transportation Planning Organization, and attended the Florida League of Cities, Utilities, and Natural Resources Committee. And got a couple of surprise phone calls. Got one from the Vice President's office and one from Congressman Rick Scott's office to see how the city of Winter Haven was faring. And I said we were doing fine, thanks to the great staff that we have at the city of Winter Haven. So again, thank you, staff, for a job well done. And I know that you're going to get all of this debris up, because that's the next real challenge for us as a city, is that we the city beautiful, but we're still beautiful that our buildings are standing and we don't have water in the streets, but there's a little bit more that we can do at the time. But thank you, staff, for the job that you've done. And we really and truly, I hate to say it, we would expect anything less. So keep up the great work. We appreciate it. All right. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Commission, and not to be duplicative or redundant, but we have a great team here, and there was abundant evidence of that throughout the last week. And as we've all said, I just consider it a real privilege and an honor to be able to be here day in and day out, and to provide advice and counsel to this great group of folks. So we hopefully are going to be through with storms, let's hope, maybe for the rest of this hurricane season. But that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Yes. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Just a couple items to remind you of this week. I think you may have gotten an invitation today for a luncheon on Wednesday. We have Leadership Winter Haven will be doing their City Day to kick off their season, and I see that Betsy Cleveland, our President and CEO of the Greater Winter Haven Chamber of Commerce, is with us this evening. If you'd like to join us, I know Commissioner Dawson will be there as a class participant in this one. But that will be at the Field House on Wednesday, beginning at 11:45. We also have Wednesday evening. I know that I heard my assistant, Amanda Joe, coordinating with you earlier on the Winter Haven High School Homecoming Parade that will travel in front of City Hall and down to MLK Park this Wednesday evening. Again, the park has been ready to prepare and prepared to receive that. They had to postpone it from last week. And then the most significant thing on my calendar this week that I want to make sure you all have on your calendar as well is the swearing-in ceremony for our Chief of Police, Vance Monroe. That will take place at the Field House on Friday of this week at 2 p.m. The public is certainly welcome to attend that, but we would certainly love to have the City Commission in attendance if you're available.
Not on our calendars.
It'll be on there before we leave this evening.
Okay.
So that is 2 p.m. on Friday, and that may be, I apologize, Mr. Mayor, that may be because we're still trying to coordinate around the storm and making sure that we had all the details set for that. But that will be the only swearing-in that we will do that day. Sometimes, we do swearing-ins, we have multiple positions that we're doing, and that will be the only one that we'll do at that time.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Assistant City Manager,
Nothing this evening, thank you.
City Clerk,
Nothing this evening.
Deputy City Clerk. Emergency matters not received for the agenda. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.